Yeah, I'm Enin. I run PhotoGhost. We're a photographic printing and developing lab. We've been running since 2013. We provide a range of photographic services from scanning, printing and developing. We can do everything from small 6x4 holiday snaps all the way up to giant 44-inch fine art prints and everything in between. We also sell film, second-hand equipment like film cameras and stuff like that. And we do like archiving, restoration work. Well, the thing about film is that it's not exactly dying off. If anything, it's seeing a rise. I was in the industry during what we call the digital crash, which was around about the mid-2000s, when film sales suddenly plummeted. You went from processing hundreds of rolls a day down to maybe 6 a week. But in the last couple of years, kind of like vinyl, film's kind of come back into fashion. Not nearly to the same degree as it used to be, but it has kind of carved out a niche for itself, and there's a lot of younger people are coming back to it. The problem that the film industry has at the moment is that the infrastructure is falling apart. So one of the main issues we have is just keeping the machines running, because all the film processors were sort of built in the early 2000s and they're just now at their end of life, and companies like Fuji have stopped supporting the machines. So the longer they're running, because they're just giant mechanical boxes full of moving parts and horrible chemicals, they wear out pretty quick. And a lot of labs right now are struggling to keep the process going, which is why Boots and Asda are closing most of their labs, is that they just can't maintain the machines. We've now got to the stage now where currently our machine's broken as well, and it's making more sense for us to design and build a new one from scratch than it would be to try and get this one fixed. So that's something we're trying to focus on at the moment as a sort of side project, is designing and building a new generation of processors to cater for the new market. But that's going to take some time, as you can imagine. But yeah, no, film, like I say, it's getting back into popularity again. I mean, we sell hundreds of rolls a month, and when our machine was working, we were processing hundreds of rolls a month again. We actually started a subscription model to try and make it more accessible to people as well. So people were paying £25 a month for all-you-could-eat processing, which was really popular. We got a lot of good feedback on that. Very close to the bone in closing ourselves. The local economy has definitely had a downturn because of the oil. You've got Brexit and all the stuff that that's bringing. That's affected us by increasing all our supply costs, and you've kind of got that, how much can you charge a customer? You know, like how much of a hit can you take? And it's getting that balance right. And I think Union Street is dying a death completely. I mean, you've got shopping centres that are just sucking the life out of it. There's no investment there. Anytime we've ever tried to apply for any kind of funding or whatever, it's been rejected. And a lot of local businesses are really feeling the pinch as well. I heard the rates had gone up. We're in a sort of weird situation in that this property that we're in is non-rated for rates, so we've kind of escaped that. But I know a lot of people, like a lot of local businesses, are saying that their rates have gone up by thousands, which obviously when you're a small business is something that a lot of places just can't cope with. So I think there needs to be more support for local businesses. I think reducing the rates, especially for small businesses, I think incentives or funding, either through grants or loans or something like that, because that was one of the problems we had when we were starting up, was generating cash. When we spoke to a guy who used to run a photo lab, he advised that we needed £70,000 in our pocket and an overdraft of about £30,000, or to not even bother. And we managed to scrape together £8,000 and have somehow managed to make it work, but it's not been easy. and we're at the mercy of, one thing fails, then that's me not getting a wage for a month. So I think if you could offer startups some kind of cash or money, to just get them started, I think that would be a help. And like I say, I think reducing things like rates and bills for them as well would also help, especially in those first couple of years, because it's your first few years, as you're establishing yourself, that are the hardest. And I think if you can make it easier for people to get their foot in the door and help them, give them a leg up, then that would certainly help. And also I think people as well, just local people, should maybe start shopping locally and not just buying everything online. That would certainly help as well. Cameras. So these were your first sort of easily accessible cameras designed for general consumers. It's basically a box. It has no real controls other than a shutter button. You just load the film, point and shoot. That would be your first example of a point and shoot camera. Then we have that beauty. This thing is very old, sort of early 1900s. This is a plate camera, which still works, by the way, which we managed to pick up at an auction for a ridiculously low price. The quality that this thing produces is better than any digital camera, in terms of resolution anyway. I mean, we're talking hundreds of megapixels worth of resolution that you can get out of this. And look at it, the craftsmanship in that is absolutely gorgeous. And we have some medium format SLRs, which look like a normal camera but bigger. You can pretend that you're tiny and or a child and holding a normal camera. We also have instant cameras. We have build your own Airfix cameras, which are quite fun. That's a good couple of hours of your life as you fiddle around with tiny springs and stuff. So the great thing about film cameras is they come in such a wide variety of shapes and sizes. Film's interesting because digital, you know what you're going to get. You're just going to get a nice picture. But with film, you can get all kinds of weird and wonderful effects. We've had, I wouldn't say odd requests, but we've seen some pretty shocking things on film. There was one guy that we used to have who, we didn't know his name because he spoke very little English and he sounded like Super Mario. And for some reason, every time he came in, there was always a delay in his order. And trying to explain to him, like, oh, the machine's broken or it's jammed or, yeah, this has happened or that happened. And he'd be like, what? And then he'd finally get it and he'd be like, oh, it's no problem. One time he came in with a roll of film. Bearing in mind this guy was it looked like he was in his 60s. It was him and his wife who taught him and whatever. And usually his photographs were, him, the grandkids, family events or whatever. But there was just one film he came in and it was just him and his wife going at it, I suppose is the only way I could really describe it. Really quite graphic stuff. And of course we couldn't print it because it's technically pornographic. So we had to explain to this man who barely spoke English how we couldn't print his pictures because, well, it was gratuitous. And he was like, what? 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 And eventually we were like, and he was like, oh, it's no problem. So we scanned it for him and gave him a CD. So yeah, that's the beautiful thing about film photography is you never know what you're going to get.